Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be Roro taking on GPT. No, it's not Chat GPT. It is General Purpose Terran, formerly known as Tom Test. A very good bot. And actually the reason I decided to cast it today was because apparently it was able to crack into the top 5 as far as the best bots on the ladder go. So, which is very, very impressive. So congratulations to the author. That's quite an achievement. And yeah, we'll just see how it's going to do against Roro here today. As Roro is a bit of an interesting bot, but it can definitely be fairly lethal. It's got good macro, which is something that is traditionally a bit of a weakness of GPT. It's very much an early mid-game bot. And so who knows, maybe Roro will be able to weather the storm that is GPT. For now, though, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button. If you haven't already, click that like button, whatever you want to do. Subscribe to the channel and join the Discord, which is linked down below. If you're a bot author and you want to send me some of your replays, feel free to do so. And yeah, if you do want to support the channel, consider becoming a YouTube member. That goes a long way, and big thanks to everyone who does do that. We are on the map Incorporeal. I always butcher that one. And I got some sort of mental block with that one. But we've actually got an expo coming out of GPT. So it's not just its crazy one base build. It will be going for an expansion and playing this one out a bit, which is honestly something we don't see as much, or I personally haven't seen as much from this bot, as it really does have a lot of good success with its just one base bio push build. Now, so we'll see whether it can match Roro in a macro game potentially. I'll go ahead and pull up those current bot rankings on the screen for those of you that want to take a look and to sort of track which bots are in the top 10 at the minute. You can see that, as always, Eris is still on top. Changeling actually getting very close to Eris, which is interesting. Maybe the random advantage holding true, or just the authors doing maybe even some refinement or changes in Changeling. Who knows, maybe Changeling will eventually be number 1. And then we do have Xena still looking good, holding up to the test of time despite having some bugs in its play. Its build selection sort of just discards builds that do not have good success. For example, I did notice a bug with a certain proxy build on a certain one of the new maps, and because the bot basically didn't understand the mineral wall pathing. But it's just not going to go for that proxy build once it fails a certain number of times. So kind of a self-solving problem to keep Xena high on the ladder. We've got Benbot, then Annibot, and GPT coming in at number 6. We do notably have LaughNgamez Void Ray Rush down at number 9 still, which is very impressive. And I actually didn't know this, but apparently LaughNgamez is the son of the author of Benbot. So a family of programmers trying to take over the StarCraft 2 bot ladder, which is very neat. I imagine there's a little bit of family competition there as far as trying to build a bot that takes down the old man's bot. But yes, that is a very cool fact. And so let's see here, as we do have a couple of cyclones on the way for Roro. So it will be potentially playing just a mass cyclone style. It's got multiple bunkers for now, which is always good against playing Tom Test. And then we do have Magfield Accelerator on the way as well. Cyclones are so darn good in the hands of bots. Now then there is Stimpack on the way here for GPT. And so it is building into that strong 2-base push. This is an interesting build from GPT. It's a timing build. It's the natural next step after GPT's sort of one base opening. It's like, well, I built an all-inning one base bot. What do I do? Okay, I'll make it take one expansion, which is, again, a realistic approach. However, it does give a lot of time for the opponent to build up. We've already got a third command center on the way for Roro, and Roro's actually being the aggressor now with Cyclones poking on in. Pardon me for not picking up on this earlier. Marines and Cyclones moving forward. The Cyclones kind of pause shooting for a moment. The tank of GPT does go down in the middle of that fight, and now we've got a bit of an awkward retreat from Roro, kind of stepping back, mainly just stuttering, it seems. However, now that Cyclone can lock onto Marines and potentially just keep picking them off, as Marines cannot catch Cyclones unless they stim and potentially get a surround or something like that. So Roro already showing us just how effective these Cyclones can be and how abusive they can be against a bot. A human would probably just, I don't know, camp on the high ground or something like that, or try and out-micro the opponent, but a bot doesn't really have that option, and so GPT is being punished heavily by just one Cyclone of Roro. It's a very good thing there is only one Cyclone here for now. Whether we'll get more out on the map to join up with this fight, it will definitely be interesting. There is tanks out, more tanks out for GPT, which can definitely help. But man, oh man, look at how many kills this Cyclone is getting. It does eventually get a little bit cornered. And then, yeah, let's see, this Cyclone is still poking and prodding. Third base for Roro is mining, so the red Terran bot is getting an economic lead compared to its opponent. And holy cow, this Cyclone is just doing so much work. GPT, definitely, a human in this case, would definitely just park by their tanks. So then they could just, well, hide behind the tanks and stay safe. But oh man, things could get very problematic for the blue Terran bot now as the rest of the Cyclones for Roro do come on in. And now that trickle of Marines dying is now going to turn into a flood, potentially. The tanks are sieging up finally, which is very important. All these Marines that are moving forward are going down. Cyclones do eat a tank shot. And then Roro is still just whittling down GPT, keeping this army small, preventing that big timing attack move out. The tanks, however, are getting some good shots off on these Cyclones, and so the Cyclones are not just getting free damage. It looks like one of the tanks may go down. That's really painful for GPT, though, which has been so far unable to build up to that just sort of fist of supply that it likes to strike out with, and time really is on Roro's side here, as again, GPT is not a bot that builds the third base, I believe. I'm not sure. I assume it's just a bot that has hard-coded builds for the most part, and as a result, that's why we just have it taking two bases. Roro, on the other hand, is expanding as time goes on. 73 SCVs, an incredible lead on the SCVs. Currently for Roro, it is just two factories producing Cyclones. It's getting up to a 76 SCV economy. It could definitely be producing more of these. That is something I would like to see. The Medivac may go down as well. That would hurt, as it does provide vision for these Cyclones. Again, the Cyclones are just picking off so many Marines. But yes, Roro is starting to float some cash here. It does have 3 factories, which is good. Or pardon me, 4 factories, as it's building these off at Tech Labs. It's so hard to keep track of the Cyclones, guys. At some point, you just stop paying attention to where the patches are and that kind of thing. It's like, oh, it's a Cyclone. What does it do? Nobody knows. And then we do have these Cyclones coming on in, locking on to some more Marines, eating tank shots, though, and going down. And yeah, I am actually getting a little bit concerned for Roro here. The fact that it doesn't seem to have that dynamic production to be adding on more. 4 Cyclones at a time is good, but it could potentially be building maybe 5, 6, 7 at a time. As for now, GPT is keeping its supply reasonably high. It is getting more upgrades going, which will benefit this bio against the Cyclones. And yes, Roro will need to come up with a new way to spend its money. We do have Marines being trickled out as well. I'm guessing they've just been poking forward and dying without me really taking note, because They are unupgraded Marines. Roro is at a ridiculous 4,000 minerals in the bank. That is enough to build 10 command centers if it wanted to. Meanwhile, GPT is starting to mine out in its main base, so eventually GPT will need to go for an attack. And if it hits that supply threshold that it requires before it goes for its attack, so far Roro has prevented GPT from attacking just by whittling down the army of GPT, which presumably goes at a certain amount of supply, but it's just never hit that amount. This was quite a poor fight for Roro, though, as it does actually lose a few Cyclones pretty quick into that engagement. The tank count is getting ridiculously high, also getting upgrades for the tanks to make their attack deal even more damage to these non-upgraded Cyclones. And Roro, yeah, is just constantly poking with these Cyclones. Roro is a bot that sometimes builds battle cruisers, builds bio, but in this game, it is just playing a very simple style and seems to have no sort of extension plans as far as this goes. The Cyclone is picking off yet another Marine that really is nice, and every unit killed really matters for Roro because it is going to potentially delay the next move out for GPT. Eventually, GPT will run out of money and not be able to replace units as quick as it needs to. In fact, it's already at 0 bank, so it has been just spending its money as fast as it can. We do see a lot of Cyclones go down. They do trade out for a single tank, and now once again are stepping back as GPT is trying to pursue this a little bit. Roro is just kind of actually leading some of these Marines out with the Medivac, as it does seem that GPT may have finally woken up and is deciding to go for an attack, as it is at 80 supply presently, which could have been the threshold for an attack. I'm not sure. However, yes, this is quite concerning for Roro. It's got a good amount of Cyclones, which are very good defensive units. Them bogging up on the ramp here could be a real possibility. Those Cyclones locking onto Marines, the bunker, buying time. This is actually quite nice for Roro. Lots of Medivacs getting locked on and killed as well is a big deal. Cyclones kind of bogging up on the tanks, but it is only 2 of them, so they're not dealing that much damage. They can now kite back against these Marines. Roro had that 3rd base lifted off, but again, it's not like it's short on cash. It's short on production, and so the Cyclones can potentially just whittle down these Marines. Is there many reinforcements coming in for GPT? It doesn't quite look like it. As Cyclones do come forward, they do need to lock on and kill off that tank, and they will. So looks like Roro is able to hold on for now, as GPT is sending out some reinforcements to come and attack. But I mean, there's so much base for Roro to lose that this is quite problematic for GPT to try and actually get through this. As long as the Cyclones don't do some silly micro. Cyclone does find a tank, almost gets it. That would have been a big deal. For now, Marines of GPT are just trying to kill this floating command center. If Roro moves out with its Cyclones, I think that would be the best case scenario to sort of head off this Terran army, as GPT's tanks sieging up could be a little bit scary right now. Marine does run out to its death. I think they may just be running out to scout for Roro, but here we go. Cyclones moving out. They are locking onto some of the units seemingly in the back, so again, not a good trade for the Cyclones, and they actually kind of all just go down fairly quickly. Marines are being worked on by the Cyclones, but the Cyclones are eating lots of tank shots, so if the Marines can get cleaned up by the Cyclones trickling out, then that should be enough for Roro to buy time. But again, things are looking very problematic, as the natural does just get gutted. The +3 attack on these Marines is very nice. A Medivac will go down to a Cyclone's lock-on, but the Cyclones kind of aren't retreating perfectly once their lock-on is expired. And now Roro's production could actually be in a little bit of trouble as tanks are sieging up. The one Cyclone is working away on these Marines, but it does get deleted by tanks. The next one pops out, that gets deleted. There's going to be one popping out here, and that is gone too. So Roro is all of a sudden at virtually no army, and GPT has pushed forward with its 2 base. It's only got 3 mineral patches left, but it is really bringing pain to Roro, and there's a possibility that Roro could just lose this game if it doesn't rebuild its production elsewhere, which I'm not sure it's got the capability to do that. For example, it could build more factories up here, but we have seen that Roro has actually just kind of, well, it's not built any more factories this whole game, so I'm not sure if it will or not now. It does still have 3 factories but they are being worked on. It's still got the racks. Lots of SCVs are coming to the main. I'm not sure what their mission was, but it was a resounding failure. 2 Cyclones being built, but as these factories go down, that will be very problematic. GPT's push is very well executed. And yeah, Roro is just bleeding out SCVs now as it tries to send them to the main, presumably to rebuild. But they're just dying, and GPT is moving out with what is basically its last units. And yeah, then it just needs to find the last base of Roro, basically, and it will have this game. Definitely not the result I expected for this one, as I thought Roro would have just been able to whittle down GPT, but unfortunately not. And it does go to show that programming a bot that really capitalizes on its leads is difficult. Bots will just do whatever bots are programmed to do, no matter whether the game is going poorly or extremely well, unless you sort of make allotments for that. And clearly there's no allotment in Roro to add more production doing this build. Will GPT find this base? I mean, it's starting to path around, it seems. That's one of the first things you program into your bot, is to scour the map when you've gutted your opponent's main base, basically. And yeah, we are seeing GPT do that. Maybe there's a world in which an SCV sneaks by, but yeah, it's not happening. And so I think this will be a victory. The command center already lifting off, trying to float away to greener pastures. Maybe it'll make it, maybe not. That is a hard no, as +3 bio is no joke. And so that is GG. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Click that like button, lick that like button, whatever you want to do. If you watched until the end, subscribe, leave a comment down below. And yeah, do check out the YouTube membership program. It's the join button or the link in the description. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.